talked about last week, the three hits we're going to make on this, how Jesus opens the door to a relationship with God. That's the big key one we're going to focus on. He opens the door to a realistic view of life. And he opens the door to a reward of life over death. Today we're actually focusing on a realistic view of life, because last week we talked about our relationship with God and what that means to us, and how that helps us with our relationships with one another. How we learn how to be loved of God and be forgiven of God, and that we learn how to trust God so that we can find our security and significance in God. And when we are secure and significant and we're assured of everything that God has told us we are, we can effectively go minister to others without trying to pretend, without trying to push, without trying to do it with our own agenda. We can be led of the Spirit, and we can go minister according to God instead of according to our own egocentric ways, quite honestly. The realistic view of life. There's some myths about the Christian life, and I hit on one of them last week. We think as soon as we get saved that life is going to be trouble-free. Everything's going to be fixed, God's got it, and life has no more troubles. But that's not the truth at all. Listen to what it says in John 16. It says this, "I have told you these things so that in me you may have peace. In this world you will have trouble. But take heart, I have overcome the world." See, as long as we're stuck in this world, there's going to be troubles. As long as we're dealing with each other, there's going to be troubles. As long as we're having relationships, there's going to be troubles. I heard a minister say to somebody, a lady who'd been in his church for about 15 or 20 years came up and she said, "Pastor, we're having some marital problems." And he said, "Yeah, I know." She said, "What? Nobody knew about this. What do you mean you know?" He says, "Well, you're married. You're going to have marital problems. If you were single, you'd have single problems, and if you were divorced, you'd have divorce problems, and if you were a man, you have man problems. If you're a woman, but there's always going to be problems." That's the key to this. There's always going to be problems. The Bible says, "And when the storms come," and God's so sure of it, he says, repeats it again, "and they will come." See, that's the thing. When the storm comes, not if. When the storms come, and they will come, the question is this: how are you going to get through it? Are you going to be freaking out and panicking, or go into the PPMS situation? What's PPMS? Ah, man, I love it. That's my original too. Y'all can use that. Take it with you. The other thing we think is this: everyone will love me. And that's a neat feeling, to think that everyone will love me. But I'll tell you what, there's a lot of meow in the church, just like there is everywhere else. Everyone might love who lives in you, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to love you. And guess what? They don't even have to. Really. They don't have to. I was going to make this t-shirt up a bunch of years back when I went through, it was called Stephen Ministry Training. I want to get a black shirt with white letters that said, "Just because I'm your best friend doesn't mean you're mine." And it sounds kind of cold, but when you think about it, you know, gee, he's my best friend. Really? I didn't know that. I wouldn't even invite you to my home. I might be your best friend, but that doesn't mean you're my best friend. My best friend's up here. He's living inside. He's the Spirit of God. Here's another thing that we have this fallacy of. Life will be full of friends for me. Hey, thanks, Anthony. He's kind of going through that right now, and I'll tell you what, Anthony's been giving me a really great report about his life, and if you want to come up here and share in a minute, you're welcome to, but if you don't, just go, you don't have to. Okay, he's done. I'll talk to him about it. Maybe he'll let me tell you about it next week. But Anthony's really having some great things happening in his life, and I've been praying for him for a long time. Long time, since he's, no, I'm kidding. Here's the truth about life. Here's what it's really going to be like. Life will be life. Happiness and heartache, both are part of it. There's going to be happiness, there's going to be heartache. We are living in a sin-cursed world, stuck in sin-cursed bodies, and we expect somehow everything to be perfect. These bodies, from the day they were born, are working their way to become dust. Every one of them. That's why we have on the back of our shirts, "Dead Man Walking." The Bible says we can count this body as sheep for the slaughter. This body's as good as dead from the day we're born. I'm not telling you this to depress you. I'm telling you the body isn't the answer. Who you really are is a spiritual being Right now you're stuck in a body, right here on the face of this earth. See, I used to believe I was a body who has a spirit in me that created my soul. Now what I'm learning is, I've been a spirit being for a long, long time. I entered into this body. When God's spirit came in and attached to my spirit, that's what goes on into eternity. This body is going to go into the ground. Me personally, I'll probably be sitting in a cardboard box somewhere. Nobody, don't spend the money on a fancy urn for me. I'm just a guy. Put it in the garden or something. Because it's just dust. It's just dust. Here's another part of it. Not everyone will think you're extra special. If you're filling in your blanks, that's extra dash special. Not my grammar, Craig's. Got you, Craig. Being videotaped. Listen to what John 15:18 says. If the world hates you, keep in mind that it hated me first. See, our issue isn't to go out and make buddies with everybody. See, because God, He has some great concerns for us, but He meets our needs, not our greeds. He gives us what we need, not necessarily what we want. Now, sometimes the things we want, we think are things we need, but really it's usually not. It's usually about our greeds or our selfish, motives or whatever. But God's going to meet your needs. And it's kind of like this. Sometimes I pray and God says no. And I don't like hearing that. Sometimes I pray and God says wait. And we don't like hearing that either. Back about 12 years ago or so, I was saved about 2 years, and I thought I was ready to be in the ministry, and every pastor I'd meet, you need an associate pastor, I want that job, I want to get into that job because I can do that job, and I can be everything you need me to be. And I was very fortunate to have about 5 different ministers that get very honest with me and say, no, you're not ready. You're in a time of preparation.